שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך, יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד
I will never forget the first time that I met Bobby. I think it was on the second or third Friday night that I was here, and she came up to me at an oneg and said, "Hi, my name is Bobby." It's with a Y at the end, not an I-E, and as long as you remember that, we're going to get along just fine. And then she gave me one of those precious smiles that you see on the cover of this. And I think very rarely was there a time where I didn't see that smile on her face. And I know that this has been an emotional roller coaster of a weekend, going from an unbelievably beautiful baby naming Friday night to a death on Sunday to a funeral today. But I hope when all of this starts to fade in the coming weeks, the thing that never leaves you, despite the tears, despite the sadness, despite everything else, is that wonderful smile that your mom had and the joy that came out of that. As long as you hold on to that, that's the salve we need when we feel the tears coming on, because I think this is the Bobby that we're all going to remember. So we come here this morning. We come here this morning to remember Bobby and join our hearts together and give comfort to her family. The morning is a time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We began our service with a psalm beautifully sung by Cantor Stanton, and now continue with another text from our tradition, thus linking her life with the millennial tradition of Israel and the eternity of God. Adonai, ma adam v'tedehu, ben enosh v'tachashvehu. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass which in the morning shoots up renewed and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, and they shall have peace. Adonai, you redeem the souls of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be desolate." We take a moment now to invite up members of Bobby's family for some words of reflections and thoughts upon her life.
I want to thank all of you for coming here to honor my mother. I'm Ricky Goldman, I'm Bobby's son. That smile was magic, and it was a gateway to my mother's soul, a soul filled with love and kindness and generosity. And it was for everyone who was within that orbit. It was for family, it was for friends, it was for neighbors, it was for strangers. And to bathe, to bask in that smile was just a remarkable thing. You know, my mother lived by certain principles. And I think that the example is a parable from Rabbi Hillel. One day, Rabbi Hillel's students come to him and they say, "We want you to explain the whole Talmud to us." And Rabbi Hillel says, "The whole Talmud?" The students say yes. He says, "Okay, come back tomorrow." And they come back tomorrow and they say, "Well," and he says, "Treat everyone how you want to be treated." In fact, what he says is, "Do not do unto others what is repugnant to you," which essentially means treat people how you want to be treated. And that's how my mother was. She treated people how she wanted to be treated. And it was a remarkable thing. I saw that smile open up doors here, overseas, in Europe when I traveled with her, in Israel when we were in Jerusalem, and she flashed that smile to Arab shopkeepers in the old city, and they just melted. Or to people in Italy, and it was the same. It was just universal. She was infused with Jewish values. She taught me a lot when I was growing up. She gave me my love of history, my love of Israel, my love of Judaism, and it was significant to her. And I want to tell you, we are living in trying times right now as Jews. And one of the things my mother said to me growing up at a young age, she said, "Ricky, if you think that what happened in the Holocaust is the last time the world is going to attempt to exterminate the Jews, you're fooling yourself." And she told me this from the age of 10, from 11, and I carried this with me. And I carry it with me today because we as Jews are living in trying times. My mother loved Israel, and she loved Zion. I found in her house a box, an old box from the Jewish National Fund, a pushka, with a map of Israel that had to be from the 1950s, that was in the house with coins still in it. And it was meaningful to me. You know, so now we're here in Anshe Emeth, and my mother has been a member of this synagogue since she's 16 years old, 77 years. She grew up the street on Livingston Avenue. She came here at a Jewish youth group when she was 16. She loved this place. The names of my family are on the walls of this place. And many of the most significant things in our lives took place here. Births, weddings, deaths, bar mitzvahs, all simchas, all part of life that we celebrated here. And she would have loved that we're here now. She would love it. You know, people say you had your mother for 70 years, and she lived a long life. But I don't think it's ever enough, not really. I mean, I want it to go on and on, but it's not what life is about. I mean, there is a beginning and there is an ending. When I read about the cycle of life, when I celebrate the yahrzeit of my father, Meyer Goldman, what it says to us is that we have to number our days, because our days are numbered, and we have to live that life to the fullest. We do. So that when we look back at our life, we don't have regrets, we have gratitude. And so I have gratitude. I have gratitude for the life of my mother, who infused me with really strong principles, principles that are universal, principles that are timeless, about honesty and loyalty and love and devotion and kindness and generosity. And she made me the man I am today. And I am grateful. But I want to tell you about something about my mother in terms of friendships. If you were my mother's friend, you were my mother's friend forever. I see Rita Levy here. We became like this with the Levy family from when I was 10 years old until now. My mother's closest friend, Blossom Lowen, she was friends with her from the 7th grade on, and friends to this very day until she ended her life. And my mother was about that, about friendship, about loyalty. And these are beautiful things. These are beautiful things to carry with us as an example of how she lived her life and as an example of how we should live ours. So I really want to thank all of you for coming. I'm deeply moved. You know, the lessons that I learned, I didn't just learn. My sister learned those lessons from my mother. And my mother was an extraordinary daughter to her parents, to her husbands, Meyer, to Bob, an extraordinary mother to my sister and I. And so I see how my sister is. And my sister is a mold of my mother with the same principles of love and devotion and kindness. And so I have hope. She has beautiful children who have those same lessons learned, taught down from my mother. And so I have hope. I have hope for the future. I have hope for the Jewish people. And again, I want to thank all of you for coming here to honor my mother. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. As my uncle said, on behalf of our family, thank you so much for coming here today and for your kind words during these recent days, which, as Rabbi Baisley had mentioned, were on a high on Friday night and a low today. And similar to what you said, Uncle Ricky, it's how life is. From the beginning of her life, it was clear what mattered to my grandmother most: family and loyalty to the people she cared for most, who cared for her the same. She was consistently a beacon of positive energy, no matter what life had thrown her way. She was always willing to help and always there in the most important moments when needed. And there are 3 stories I'd like to share with you guys today that exemplify this, and I hope it paints a picture of just how far out of her way she went through so much to be who she was. In 2007, my cousins were clearing out her and my grandpa Bob's apartment in South Florida when they decided they wanted to spend the rest of their lives here. And when my cousins were there, they found some old letters written to my grandparents by her sister, my Auntie Helen, and my Uncle Marty as well, thanking them for all the help they had provided when they moved down to Florida, stating that they could not have built the foundation down there without them. It was just then I realized how far my grandma went to help all of those she cared about most, and how her legacy for our family foundation is still very present here today. And she had an unmatched sweetness to her that could make even the most hearted people smile. Fast forward the clock to Thanksgiving of 2013, and I picked her up in Highland Park, and I'm driving her back to West Windsor. And on Route 1, there was a lot of traffic, so I took the shoulder to take the Alexander Road exit home. And as soon as I got off the exit, I got pulled over and was a bit panicked, not because I got pulled over, but because I got pulled over with my grandma in the car, not having any idea how she would react. And when the police officer came over to the car and got done explaining why I had been pulled over, my grandma looks at him with the smile that my uncle just spoke so highly of, and for so many reasons. And my grandma says to the officer, "Don't get my great sweet grandson in trouble now on this wonderful day. This is supposed to be a happy day." The officer's frown quickly turned into a smile and a laugh, and after a few minutes of them yapping, I got out of it unscathed. And I told my grandmother, "Please don't tell my mother and father." And she says to me, "Of course not. Why would they need to know?" And through it all, she always had my back. But nothing she did was more important than what she did for me in 2018, when my late girlfriend Amanda was terminal and when she passed away. As many of you know, my grandmother lost her first husband when she was 30, when my uncle was 7, and when my mother was 3. And whenever I needed to talk, she was there. And it was really sad to be able to relate to her on that level, but I was so grateful through all that pain that she went through. She still had it in her heart to speak with me on what I was going through. And the pain of knowing she was watching me go through the same thing that she did really showed a kind of strength in her that was really unique and made us all so grateful to know her. And until the very end, my grandmother loved and cared for those closest to her with everything in her heart, saying just a couple weeks before she passed that her kids were the best there ever was. And I'm so grateful that before she left this earth, she got to spend time with her great-granddaughter. I know our family will make her proud by continuing to be kind to others and to be there for one another when it matters most. Thank you all again for being here today. May her memory be a blessing.
Good afternoon. It's a sad day, but in these kind of sad days, being with family is the best thing for everybody. And in that sense, it's a blessing to be with you all, and it's a blessing to memorialize Bobby. She's a huge part of our lives. I'm going to read something that my sister Karen, who's in Israel, asked that I read. We're Bobby's neighbors, adopted family. So a tribute to Bobby, Barbara Stone. To my brothers, Ron and Gilad, I'm Ron, by the way, and to me, Bobby was so much more than a neighbor. Because our own grandmother lived far away in Israel, Bobby became our adopted American grandma. She was a constant source of warmth and light in our lives for as long as we can remember. Bobby was an incredible woman who knew me from my very first days in the world. She often reminded me of the story of the day my parents brought me home, this is speaking about Karen, from the hospital, and how she knew it was a girl because of the pink balloons they had tied outside our house. She was there to see me arrive. She was there for every milestone that followed, and she watched me grow up from the very beginning. Bobby was vibrant, generous, kind, loving, and joyful, an echo of everyone's sentiments here. I loved her laugh. I loved her colorful clothes. I loved her beautiful hair and her elegant manicured nails. I love that she always had her cupboard stocked with something sweet, very true. As a child, I always looked forward to visiting her house because I knew those chocolate-covered candies would be waiting for me at the coffee table. She never missed an occasion to show us that she was thinking of us. Whether it was Hanukkah or Valentine's Day, she would arrive at our front doors, somehow managing to ring the doorbell while carrying heaps of wrapped gifts and balloons. She would come inside glowing with infectious excitement and joy. But Bobby's sweetness wasn't just in her kitchen, it was in her soul. She faced significant hardships in her life, losing Mayor when she was only in her 20s and navigating other challenges over the years. Yet she never let life make her bitter. She was always hopeful and full of light. She showed our family love in so many different ways, through her gifts, through her words, through the photos of us that stayed on her refrigerator for decades. Bobby taught me what it means to be kind. She taught me how to feel gratitude, to count my blessings, and that the same life that can be interwoven with pain, joy, hardship, and light is something we all face, and do it with grace. She was a gift to our family. We were so lucky to have our American grandma to guide us and to love us as we grew. I'll miss her every day. Thank you, Bobby, for all the magnificent gifts you have given me. I will carry them with me in my heart always. Zichronah livracha. Love you, Bobby.
And this is from Karen, and I want to add a few sentences from myself and my husband. Bobby was so much more than a neighbor to us. She became family. With our own parents far away in Israel, she stepped into our lives with warmth, generosity, and love, and became a grandmother figure to our children. She was there for many moments, big and small, always showing up with kindness and joy. We would tease each other lovingly, trying to figure out who adopted who, whether we adopted Bobby or she adopted us. It felt absolutely mutual. I can hardly see. We feel incredibly lucky to have had her in our lives, and we will always be grateful for the love she gave our family.
It is my honor now to call up Rabbi Bennett Miller, our Rabbi Emeritus, for formal words of chesped, formal words of eulogy.
There's a story of a rabbi who delivered a eulogy at a funeral, and at the conclusion, one of his congregants came up to him and said, "Rabbi, I want you to deliver that same eulogy at my funeral." To which he said, "If you live it, I'll deliver it." I'm delivering a eulogy that Bobby Stone wrote. In recent days, everyone in Bobby's family, and so many of us who loved Bobby, we were all aware that we would be gathering on a day like this. It would have to be a sunny day, to reflect and recall the life force that Bobby was,
and all that she meant to each and every one of us. But before today would come, Bobby had to be sure of certain things. She had to wait for Ricky to come home from California and spend each precious day with his mother. She had to give Beth time, not only for daily visits, but to begin to prepare for her life to be lived without Bobby in it each day. She had to give her precious Michael and Marnie, or as she called them, my Michael, my Marnie, together with David and Seth, time to feel their gratitude for all that she means to them. Most of all, Bobby had to allow time for her precious and beautiful great-grandchild, for Eliza, as Rabbi Baisley mentioned, to be named in this very sanctuary that meant so much to Bobby. Every wedding, bat mitzvah, bar mitzvah, baby namings. Yes, just a few days ago, we did just that. We gave Eliza a beautiful Hebrew name and celebrated the life that she is beginning to live, imbuing in her all that was meaningful to Bobby, with the hope that Eliza will carry on the values of love, of family, love of friends, kindness to all, and love of faith, the faith that Bobby lived and celebrated every single day of her life. During her 9 decades, she was a devoted daughter to Dora and Abe, adoring sister to Helen. She loved being a Feldman and a Tamaroff. Here she met her first love, Meyer, and together they made a life and brought Ricky and Beth into the world, a world that they would come to love. She loved being a Goldman. And after Meyer's death at too early an age, she continued to live life with meaning, raising her kids, working hard, and finding love again with Bob. She loved being a stone. Not a rock stone, but a stone of love. Together, Bobby and Bob, the two of them made a life that was full, surrounded by so many friends, shared in so many ways with kindness and goodness, with caring for all, and of course, lots and lots of laughter. To meet Bobby was to know her and quickly come to love her as well. What you saw was what you got. A big, we heard it over and over already, we know it, that infectious smile, eyes that glistened with a sparkle of joy in them, a welcoming hello always, and a laughter that came often, infectious too and full of joy. I think it is fair to say that Bobby didn't live life. She loved to live life every single day. I think her mornings began with, "To whom shall I show kindness today?" And her evening ended with, "Today I gave my best and shared it with so many." Of course, her children and grandchildren were the recipients of her greatest love, but her kindness and caring extended to her friends, the neighbors, the children on her block, the postman, the electrician who did the repairs, the caregivers who aided her when she herself cared for Bob. That was the Bobby we knew, and the Bobby that we loved, and the Bobby who we celebrate today. If Bobby had a motto that guided her throughout her life, it was, "You treat people the way you want to be treated." You said it so beautifully, Ricky. If Bobby had a sense of purpose, it was every day bring an act of kindness into the world, show someone some love, be thankful for all that has been given, and express thanks for all that has been received. Bobby lived life with seeing the joy, overcoming the sadness, and always, always finding and rejoicing in the humor of living. She could see laughter in an event that others wouldn't recognize. She could find silliness and fun in a phrase, in another's behavior, in a sight to behold. Her humor wasn't always age appropriate, and sometimes even a bit off color, but it was always with good cheer, never intended to harm, and for Bobby, it gave delight to every single moment. It's fair to say that Bobby was a people person. She made others feel important. Her warmth was expressed in her smile, and her love was expressed in her laughter. That is not to say that she wasn't serious about life. She certainly was. She was proud of being a Jew, living in our time, celebrating the miracle of Israel, and believing in the future of the Jewish people. This temple meant so much to her, for this was the place where family marriages, as I mentioned, and as Ricky mentioned too, they were all celebrated, where the children and grandchildren would come to love our faith and where her values were celebrated. I know because, like Rabbi Baisley, when I first met her more than 50 years ago, she said to me, and I'll never forget those words, "Welcome to our temple. You're going to love it here because it's such a special place." Permit me to close these thoughts about Bobby with the words of my friend, a poet named Len Brown. He knew Bobby too. Maybe he wrote this poem with her in mind. It's entitled "Each Day a Gift," and it sums up the life that Bobby lived. How will I cover my gift today? Will it be bright red for exciting moments? How about soft yellow to remind me of the warmth of the sun? It will be tied together with a soft woolen string for security. But what will be in this package of delight? It will be filled with memories of loving and being loved, of appreciation for my expanding heart and capacity for wisdom. This gift has longevity, saving some of the wrapping and adding more depending on my encounters with life. Bobby Stone, daughter, sister, wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, friend, a gift to us all, wrapped in colors of joy and laughter, of kindness too. Bobby Stone, we will always remember you for the blessing that you were to others, and most of all, for the blessing that you were to all of us. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Her memory will certainly always and only be for blessing. Amen.
Will you rise now in either body or spirit for El Malei Rachamim?
El Malei Rachamim. שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת בילה רוחל בת אברהם ודבורה מרים שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתירها בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen.
God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one, Bobby Stone, who has gone into eternity, find the gift with perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace, as together we say, Amen. Please be seated.